My name is Fran, I'm the founder of Cacao, and today I'm going to go live. Kelly is joining me and she is going to be interviewing me. Ooh. So let's get Kelly up here. I think. Hello. Hi, everybody joining. Just getting Kelly up here. Hello, everybody joining. Hello. I'm going to be interviewed today. Not on the other side of the interview process. Carl, I'm going to invite you one more time. Just this off. I have to practice a lot of patience at this stage of the IG Live. Carl, just maybe try one more time to request to invite.
Yes.
Are we there?
Can you see me?
All right. I actually can't see you, but I know it might be something at the moment, Mercury shadow and all of that, but I know it'll come up on the video feed as both our blocks. So I'll just continue looking at myself and talking to you. Hello. Here we are.
Oh, goodness.
So I've already just introduced that I'm on the other side of the kind of chat vibe. Normally, if I'm inviting somebody on, we have like a kind of a conversation, but generally I'm prompting a few questions. So today, Kelly is going to be interviewing me, kind of just for it to be a bit more natural. Otherwise, I just end up talking about myself and don't give information that people might want. I'm facilitating the Cacao training that's coming up soon. So if anybody who wants to know a little bit about me, here's the opportunity. So, Carl, over to you.
Thank you very much for asking me to do this. I told you I'm stepping into my Oprah shoes here. I didn't see that happening for me. So, yeah, just a bit about, I've known Fran for almost 4 years now. I did the Cape Cacao training. I've done it twice, actually. And then we have facilitated ceremonies together. And yeah, I think that there'll be a bit of information out of these questions that I'll be learning about Fran as well. So we're going to start off with a little kind of quick fire, a few little questions just to break the ice.
Okay.
So, okay, what is your favorite space out in nature?
Ooh, I have two. It's the mountains and it's the ocean. Can't
Kind
choose
of
which one.
Pandora's box there. Okay. Well, Sophia's choice, should I say? Okay, your favorite time of day? Okay.
Sunrise.
Your favorite movement form?
Oof. Dance, yoga, and walking. I also can't
Fair
decide
enough.
just on one.
Your favorite way to relax?
With a cup of cacao and a good book, or
Okay.
I go for a nature walk.
And then
One or the other.
your favorite spice?
My favorite spice. At the moment, it's nutmeg.
Okay. And then your favorite cacao recipe?
Hold on, you thought I was going to
I think
say
so,
cinnamon here
yes.
in the last one. Yeah, well, that comes into my favorite recipe. So my favorite cacao recipe, if I'm not making for ceremony, in which case it's just clean with the water and a little bit of coconut sugar. At the moment, my favorite delicious recipe is a spoon of cashew nut butter and honey and nutmeg and cinnamon.
I'm gonna have to try that. And is it hot or cold? Okay,
Hot.
awesome. Okay, Loic, so just getting a little bit deeper and getting to know a bit more of you before Cape Cacao, or even during. You travel a lot. We always see on your page that you are on some airplane or in some country on some mountain. So, where is your favorite place to travel? Or should I say, where are your favorite places to travel? Because I know there will be more than one.
Yeah. So that has changed as I've changed as well over the years. I really do have part of my soul in India and definitely in many countries that either have the Himalayas or have a Hindu culture. And Bali comes into that as well with the Balinese Hinduism. It's definitely a culture that I resonate with. And of course, Bali has the cacao. So at the moment, my favorite place to go is Bali. But I love going to the Himalayas, so either Nepal or India. In the past, my favorite was definitely when I was a lot younger was Egypt. I only got to go there once, but I traveled quite extensively. Otherwise, South Africa. This
Yeah,
is such a beautiful country,
it
such a
really is.
beautiful country. So
And
yeah.
then maybe just to touch on a little bit on your love for the Hindu culture. What is it about that?
Hmm. I think it started off with just misunderstanding a lot of it, and actually I like that part that I misunderstood. So the idea that there are many gods, there are many gods, and actually they still see there is a divine with many deities or many other kind of sub-divines. That's my very kind of nutshell version, and obviously it's a lot more complicated than that. But just this openness and the acceptance of so much diversity. And I really just, the people that I've come into contact with that are from the Hindu culture, just that open-mindedness, the acceptance, not having to question why, kind of just, okay, that's how it is, and we get on with it. So that it's very diverse, very colorful, very diverse in culture and language. I mean, especially India, for those who have traveled to India, will know it's everything.
Wow.
It's everything. So yeah, there's a lot in the mixing pot there, and I love that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think I can definitely understand why Bali is a favorite, aside from
Yeah,
the
we've
cacao,
been
but
there.
yeah, it's beautiful there. Okay, and then yeah, just getting more towards now to the Cape Cacao side of things.
Mm.
What were you doing before Cape Cacao came into play?
So I'll go
Yeah,
in a history backwards from right now till kind of maybe when I
sure.
first left school. But I'll do it quickly because I can wear my age otherwise. Not that that's a problem. So before Cape Cacao was something that took up 80, 90, 100% of my time. I was very much in the wellness industry as the wellness industry is understood. With studios. I owned some yoga and Pilates studios. Before that, I was just teaching these modalities at many different other studios. So I've done numerous trainings in body and mind. Um, and before that, I was working in nature conservation and in journalism and eco-journalism. And then obviously going back now to what I studied. So it was journalism and it was nature conservation. And I had amazing opportunities to travel quite extensively in Southern Africa during that time. So it's always been the theme of nature has been through with me. Even when I had studios, I'd really recognized the time I needed to go out and be outside because a lot of it was inside. But otherwise, yeah, the theme of nature has always just been there. That's kind of what I was doing before. So just kind of growing and growing into more of the health, the wellness, and the fitness. And now I incorporate spirituality into that as well. So the hygiene with spirit
Yeah, and
comes in with Cape
I
Cacao.
suppose also the nature comes into it with cacao being a fruit
Yeah,
and a plant and all that. So
absolutely,
that's beautiful.
absolutely.
Okay, and then
Mm.
yeah, I mean, obviously now we know you have an extensive amount of knowledge. So how did you kind of collate the cacao training material? Because it covers a lot of things.
Ooh, yeah, it does. Well, I actually, what I didn't mention about my travels is in my early 20s, so this is going back quite some time now, I traveled in South America, and a large part of my travel and my focus were in the mountains and was going on treks. And it was actually there that I put it this way, I heard the whisper of the spirit of the mountains there, and there's definitely something that kept wanting to lure me back more. And I was traveling further north, and eventually I was going to get to Mesoamerica. And clearly, it just wasn't the right time for me. So I needed to go through a lot of my own life experience still. I mean, I definitely wasn't ready then at all to hold a cacao ceremony. I didn't even know really what that was then. So that's kind of the first little seed that was planted for me. And then my journey into just being fascinated with cacao and what it can assist us to reconnect back to kind of happened through a lot of suffering. And I think many might understand the language of the dark night
Mhm.
of the soul. So this kind of happened more of like a decade after this kind of seed was planted in South America when I was there in the mountains. And I was just going on a completely different trajectory. I still was very embodied in nature practices and animistic practices. And I still had many other fields of interest in spirituality, Hinduism being one of them, and traditional yoga, and Buddhism I practiced as well and studied quite extensively. So there was still a lot of that happening and holding me, with nature being the foundation. And then I just kind of clearly wasn't meant to go on that trajectory anymore, because it was actually through heartache, through a breakup. Kind of a lot of other things just started falling down around me, and I entered into a bit of a dark night of the soul. It came with a lot of physical illness. It came with a lot of mental suffering, energetically very fragmented, very imbalanced. And I just kept going inwards. And I went into self-isolation, actually, and I started working with Cacao. I really was working with Cacao then, but I started to work with the spirit of Cacao. And I just very intuitively went into a dieta, which lasted quite a long time. It lasted 6 months. And there was a lot of healing that was going on during this time, because I was at rock bottom, really was at rock bottom on every level. And through surrendering and just receiving the medicine of Cacao, I started to understand the link inwards and the mirror that she was showing me about what I actually have inside. And so there were a lot of beautiful things that I started to connect into through that process. It was my own cycle as a woman. It was understanding the cycles of life and death. It was understanding the interconnectivity of everything. And I think it was possible for me because I already have such a connection into nature. We all have this. I just had kind of never lost that. So yeah, and I came out of that phase. But what happened during that phase, those really intense, very intense 6 months, a lot of dream practice was happening. And I already had a practice of dreams coming through already, an understanding of what that was about. So I listened. I was completely receptive to the subconscious space. And I was gifted the training material basically through the dreams. I would wake up in the middle of the night, first thing in the morning, and my journals were just full. And I started researching at the same time during this time, so I really couldn't do much else. I started doing my own research. And I already had human mentors and other spirit mentors, and they still continued after that phase. But that 6 months was really just that internal focus, really listening to, and through the dieta, developing my own unique relationship with the spirit of Cacao. And in my dream space, obviously when the egoic mind is kind of switched off and could go a bit deeper, my dream space just started to give me, through Cacao as well, just all the information. And I'd go and verify it, and I'd double check and, get the more scientific understanding of it afterwards in the day. And that training was just set up during that time. So I feel incredibly blessed that this happened. And a few things have been tweaked along the way over the years, but essentially it's still, the core components are still there, the structure, the pace, working through with the elements, for example. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my story. There was a lot of suffering that went with it, but I think our capacity to understand and be in love is almost equal to what we can understand of being in suffering. So again, the yin and the yang of life, creating balance.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I've done, like I said, I've done the training, so it's nice to know kind of where it came from, because we're never quite sure. So that's really lovely. And yeah, the dream space is just, we all need to tap into that more, because it's really important. So, sure. That got really deep really quickly. I loved what you said about it planted a seed for you, because that's what Cacao is that planting of the seed. It's that time that for 10 years you might not have looked back there, but the seed was growing, and it's blossomed into what it is today. So that's really lovely, and I think quite inspiring for a lot of people to know that the same day you plant the seeds, not the same day you eat the fruit. And just to kind of start ending off, is there anything else you think your followers and new faces here should know about you on a more like human, personal level, not just the mentor trainer?
Yeah. So yeah, that did get deep very quickly, but I mean that's an authentic answer. And it took me, this might be helpful to actually hear, like a real human moment. It took me a long time, still was working with Cacao and I was holding ceremonies, I was offering the training. It took me a long time to actually come to a point to be able to share that. Because first of all, I didn't want anybody to put me on a pedestal. I never, never want that, because that dynamic is, I don't feel we're in that dynamic anymore. We're in the age of Aquarius. We all are equal. And I might just have a few years more experience in the information and the embodiment of something than someone else. It's not like I'm above them or anything, but I know our tendencies as humans can be, oh, we hear someone did 6 months of dieta. Wow, we put them on pedestal. So there was that one piece that was holding me back. But also it was around finding my own voice and just owning it and going, this is my story, and it might be helpful for others to hear. It might be inspiring to them. It might be, yeah, I've had something similar and I just didn't, speak it. So it kind of validates their story perhaps. And so a large piece of this and my journey with Cacao is really just standing firm in what I know to be true for myself and kindly and gently speaking my truth, knowing that I have power just like you have power and everybody else listening has power. And it's to really tap into what that power is for us, not in a destructive way, but in a way where we can share that with the world in being in service with our gifts, because I do believe that we all have unique gifts and talents, and to be in service is the way our energy gets fed as well. We give and we receive, we give and we receive. So I'm very fortunate to have found this relatively early on in my life, I suppose, even though there was like a good, a good gap, like a good decade between little seed being planted and then kind of the cacao tree growing into, or like birthing Cape Cacao in a sense. So around voice activation, so yeah, what some people might not know about me is I'm always going on. If you've done the trainings, you'll know about voice activation. We do a lot of practices. It's nice and easy. No one's forced to do anything as well, but there's a lot of information on how you can start to activate your voice. And many people actually come onto the training wanting to have their voice activated. There's this little knowing inside them. But what I also don't tell people is that I've had formal voice training, and it was limiting me to a certain degree. And I then didn't have, it was also other musical instruments and this and that. And I completely stopped with any form of music for a long time. And then tapping back into spiritual hygiene, I found myself just naturally wanting to express through voice my gratitude to life. And I often found when I was just walking on the beach, there was no one around, or I was out in the mountains again, no one around, I just started singing. And I was singing in response. It was this dynamic relationship, singing in response to whatever was the energy in nature at that time. And that's actually, now that I'm carrying on with training and understanding in animism and the animate world, and a lot of indigenous cultures, they still work along these lines, this is what birds do. Birds don't just randomly sing. Birds are singing the world into creation. They're singing in response to creation. So when I had somebody say that to me, it kind of validated I wasn't crazy, that I was just like singing all over the place. And that was also one piece in the puzzle to kind of get myself to a point of actually on camera in front of people start singing again. And it was something that I kind of like, it became a shadow aspect to me, because I was pushed a little bit too hard, too fast to become good at it. And for me, it took the enjoyment out of it. So being able to sing now again is just such a joy, and I feel it's such a gift that I can share. I think it's partly a voice that is mine, but also there is a channel there of spirit. So for anybody who is listening that maybe resonates with a little bit of what I said, because I've said quite a broad amount here on voice activation, just start singing. Don't think you're crazy. Sing in the shower, hum when you're cooking your food, whatever it is. If you find yourself on a walk and you hum, go for it. This is so important that we start to use our voice. I'm a big one around voice activation. I think, Kelly, you know that, but some that are listening might not. And that we actually find the words then in an eloquent way, in a kind way, that are necessary when it is necessary to use voice to express ourselves. We don't always have to be using voice itself, but it does hold a frequency that we can tap into.
Oh, that's lovely. And yes, I recently saw a post about how the birds don't just randomly sing, how they are in relation to everything else around them. So that's really lovely. And yeah, sure. And I can definitely testify that Fran has a lovely, lovely singing voice. So it's really an honor to be in that medicine when it does happen. Yeah, and I think we've come to the end of all of that. There's a lot more about you. We could always do a part 2 one day. But yeah.
Let's keep it to part 1. Part 1's fine. We'll carry on talking about all the other interesting people in the world. I'm just one of many. So I will end off with my own quick fire back. Favorite things, because I mean that wasn't exactly a light end. Favorite things like favorite food, all right, is a homemade sourdough pizza base. So if I have pizza, it's got to be the gourmet style, homemade. The tomatoes have to be organic from the grocer, the farm store down the road from where I live. The tomato base even has to be all homemade. The cheese has to be from my brother's farm. He makes artisanal cheese. I have to make my mushrooms a certain way. I first put the mushrooms out to get like a lot of sun and they start to activate, and then I do them. So anyways, so pizza, but not just like crappy pizza, like proper gourmet pizza is my absolute fave. My favorite book is Shantaram, and now I'm probably going to be showing my age. My favorite movie is 7 Years in Tibet, and even more showing my age. My favorite series is, I'm going to end it just with the song, and then if you know what that is, then you can kind of guess my age, and otherwise you won't know what that is. So how does it go? So, no one told you life is gonna be this way.
Yeah, exactly what that
That's
is.
it. That's all.
That's kind of my soul song, so I hear you. That's amazing. Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing, and again for asking me to be a part of this. And yeah, just keep on with the beautiful work. Really
Thank you,
can testify for
Cacao.
it, so twice.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. And thank you so much for just being part of that soul tribe. Like really, you've been almost there since the beginning of Cape Cacao, very soon into the start when we like formally became Cape Cacao. And yeah, you know how dear it is to me and my relationship with the spirit of Cape Cacao, but also the spirit of Cacao herself. So thank you for just being there along the journey. And that's the beautiful thing, you know, joining a training, you get to know someone, and if there is a resonance, then a beautiful relationship can grow
absolutely.
from that as well. And so it's wonderful to have you in my life and in Cape Cacao's tribe.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sister.
And yeah, all the best for the new moon. Hope you bathe in
Mm,
energy, marinate in all of
yes.
that.
Mm,
All this new,
New moon blessings,
yeah,
everybody, and equinox coming up, and we've got a eclipse, a lunar eclipse as well. So a big month ahead. Stay grounded, stay
yeah,
nourished, slow down, drink cacao, breathe.
yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Have a
thank you. Well, I'm just going to give a few more sentences for anybody who's wanting to find out about the cacao training. So I'll say goodbye to you. Thank you for joining me.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, thanks, Carl. Anybody that doesn't know Kelly yet, although she's been featured quite a few times on here on Instagram with us. If you don't know, you don't follow her, her account is here. Go check her out, Enlightened Healing. So if you are interested in joining the cacao training, we have our 13th one coming up end of this month. So that's March. We start on the 28th of March, but we are going to close off the enrollments a week before, just because we can then, without rushing, get all the admin sorted, get everything we need to you, get you all excited, just send you everything you need so that you are prepared, so that on the 28th we can have our orientation and welcome session and you're already settled rather than rushing in. Bearing in mind that it's also going to be around that time. We've just gone through the equinox, we've just gone through a lunar eclipse, so we want to try and make everything a little bit more so cool. So level 1, you might have already seen some information about it. It's essentially 6 weeks online with me. If you're doing level 1 and 2, then you'll stay on and you'll complete a 3-month cycle container with me. In the time, whether you're doing level 1 or level 2, you'll have a new moon ceremony, and we meet weekly on Zoom. This is going to be Thursday, South African time, 11 a.m. We will still have a Q&A session because we get a few questions coming in DMs and emails, especially after listening to me speak now. You might have a few more questions about who I am. So we'll address all of those in another Q&A. But take a look. The link is in our bio to our website. But actually, if you go into the link in the bio, it says the Cacao Training, our signature Cacao Training. And you can just go have a look there. We start on the 28th of March, and so you're either with us for 6 weeks or with us for 3 months. This is a very small group container. We do also, on request, hold private training. So you'll just meet with me then once a week. You have the same syllabus, so it's online study material that gets released weekly to you. You have home practices. We're very practical in the beginning. We start making cacao. We look at our dosage, we look at the physiological properties of cacao, we go into the metaphysical component, the yin and the yang, how to balance our energy, how to work with our energy skillfully. And then we go further into the modules, which becomes more personal development and growth. We look at voice activation, like I've already said. We look at dream practice, shadow integration, very important. Knowing our triggers, knowing a little bit about our internal workings, so that when we come to hold space for others, that we're able to do that effectively and not let our stuff come in to the container that we're holding. And we also look at like the practicalities of what is the model that we can work from in the beginning to start a ceremony, to hold a ceremony. How do we go about it? What are the phases that we need to include? So I provide you with that blueprint, and then encourage you to also find your niche, your skills you already have, your tools, things you're interested in. And we kind of develop the uniqueness that you already are within the context of cacao and ceremony. And we also understand why it's so important to honor the lineage. So we look at the history of cacao, the origins, the actual reality of what's happening in the world at the moment. What is ceremonial grade cacao versus non-ceremonial grade cacao? Why it's so important that if we want to work in integrity, and we want everybody along the line, as well as the land, to be honored, that we work with ceremonial grade cacao. So we go into that quite a bit in the beginning. And then right at the end, we also look at ethics. So how can we be more in our integrity? So there's quite a few very cool things that are kind of put in modular form. And there is a build up. So there's a follow through, one module to the next to the next. It's very manageable. You'll be able to do your weekly study within 2 to 4 hours a week. You meet online with me for an hour each week, and then we do have ceremonies on the new moons as well. So all this is happening online. Have a look at the link in the bio. You can enroll already. We need a deposit, which is your first installment essentially, to book your spot, to confirm your spot. And I look forward to having you on the cacao training. If this is your time. If you feel called, if you're still sitting on the fence, you're not too sure, just schedule a free explore call with us. That also is there on the website. And then we can jump on a call with you and answer any questions that you have, so that you can make a decision with information, but also just based on your intuition. Mwah! Much love, everybody. From my heart to yours. And a beautiful new moon further, and going into eclipse season. Ground, slow down, drink cacao. If you know how to already, breathe, rest, and just try getting to